One of the things that I think of is with partners, there has to be a reason for partnering. Either one solution makes the other better, or both solutions are better together. So that is the end goal, right? When you look at how the technologies combine together. And I feel that when you have a strong brand, or you're working with a company that has a strong brand, it's really about those deep relationships you have within that company, right? Because you've got to have relationships at every level along the way so that they understand the value of the partnership too. And we have found that sometimes when people don't really understand or they lose the sense of value in the partnership, that's when things start to get a little clunky. And so I would say anyone selling someone else's brand as a reseller or a technology integrator or a systems integrator is know everything you can about that product. You don't have to be a technologist, but you really need to understand the why people buy. And once you understand that, and then you continue to learn about their products and technologies and what their future roadmap looks like, it's really hard to lose interest in that brand. And as with some of the bigger names, that might be easier to do, but when you look at new hitters, like Wiz came out of nowhere and now is like the leading security giant. And so I would just say change is inevitable. It is real, but stay current on what you know in terms of your knowledge about that particular brand.
What kinds of learnings do you have for maybe a woman who's considering telecom sales or tech sales of some type? What advice would you have?
Yeah, I have a couple. I would say to start off, we touched on learning. That is a huge part. And you can't rely on the company to provide all of the learning for you. So they're going to give you foundational training and kind of let you know these are the products, these are the selling points, this is how we position ourselves against competition. Cool. But you have to go deeper. You have to find out what are the bad things that our customers saying about the product? What are the good things that they're saying? Get into the weeds with your sales engineer and learn about some of the nitty gritty of the technical. Even if you don't talk to it or speak to it, just understanding like how exactly it all clicks and works together. So that is a huge advantage because competency is huge in sales. If you don't come across that you know what you're talking about or you don't provide that value, then it's really hard for customers, or in my case, resale partners, to really trust you because they're just like, she doesn't even sell the product. She doesn't even know how to use it.
Right.
So I can only take what she's saying with a grain of salt. And that's men or women. So for sure, learning. Another big thing is listening. You have to be a good listener because your customer is going to tell you exactly what they, how to sell to them essentially. So if they come to you and say, "Hey, Lori, I have this issue, and these are some of the business outcomes that I'm trying to accomplish." A bad salesperson would just in one ear, out the other, and then they'll just list all the features and benefits and say, "This is why our product is so amazing. Do you want to buy it?" A good salesperson will take the one feature or benefit that aligns with the problem that the customer was talking about. And that's all they need to hear. They don't care about anything else that it does. It's cool that it does all the other stuff, but you have to listen to the customer and figure out what is their pain point, what are they struggling with, and how does your product help provide the solution for that. So those are my two biggest things for people looking to get into sales or people who are in sales and just want to continue to be successful.
We're in a really fast paced industry and it's changing all the time. This company has had a refresh in our approach, I would say, every year to every other year. It's never been stagnant. When I signed on, what was important to me is that the leadership wanted us to continue to be like a head competitor in the industry. And to do that, you need to pivot. You need to try new things. You need to change things up. And you do tend to cycle through leadership because the company can outgrow you if it's growing at a fast pace. And I think people miss that a lot, but I got firsthand exposure to it. So I was seeing some of our leaders that were great where we were at. They were doing an amazing job. But for the next steps we needed to go to, they weren't elevating as quickly as the company maybe needed them to. So You saw people kind of cycle through leadership at this company as the company outgrew certain people in certain roles, or maybe people wanted to step away from where the company was going. It's a direction they weren't interested in. It's motivated me from the very beginning to continue to work on myself. Like one of the number one things I tell myself over and over again is do not let this company outgrow you. Do not let your skill set fall behind where they're going, because we're always moving. And if you stop moving, the company is going to continue on and you're going to get left behind, and you're no longer going to be a standout. You're not going to be up for that promotion. You're not going to be of as good of a service to the teammates that you're trying to lead. You're not going to be serving as an example. You're not going to be bringing new ideas to the table. So I've found being here for this amount of time has shown me through experience what can happen if you keep up. It's really motivating to continue to upskill yourself, to learn from new people, to get in touch with other people in the industry like yourself, to learn, like, what are you doing? How are you keeping up? Who do you know? Who have you spoken to? So if anything, I think it's really given me a competitive edge.
I think that at the end of the day, I think there are use cases where AI can replace people. If you certainly companies are having great success with some of the chatbot support function on the website. Like I think when it's a very highly transactional sale, there's a world where that happens, but that's not so far off from like self-service where you never interacted with a person. You just wanted to get onboarded to a product. I think where AI, at least in the world of enterprise sales, AI is assisting as the co-pilot to help the reps replace anything that is just tedious, the stuff we don't want to do, that is stuff not related to this, which is like humans connecting and talking about problems and whether this is worth even having a conversation. And I think that's where, is there a world where that goes away? Sure, anything's possible. But like that means the person on the other side is also not a human either. So then we're talking
It's
about a
very
very
team
different
player,
reality.
right? Yes.
Exactly. Which might
Yeah.
happen. It might be agents doing agents, but then hopefully we're all on the beach somewhere enjoying our life, far away from a computer screen.
There's so many different tools out there, and folks are really starting to focus on the tech stack. I think technology is going to stop being a differentiator, and it is going to be those individuals who can connect on a human level who are going to be the most successful moving forward. And as my friend Jamie Diglio, I know a mutual friend of yours, likes
I'm
to say,
like
the soft
Amy.
skills lead to hard dollars. And I do think it's the people who lead with curiosity, with empathy, are going to be the ones who are going to be successful. And it was fascinating. I was at a workshop about a month and a half ago, and there was a CEO who basically said, I will purchase a lesser product if I trust the rep more to actually deliver on the installation, and said, I've made purchase decisions where I knew I wasn't buying the best tool, but I went with the person who I had confidence would install the tool to actually meet the business outcomes that I was looking for. And I think that's where women have a more of a tendency, and don't want to necessarily broad brush, but I do think
Right.
there's more curiosity. You're dealing with buying committees, so you have to be willing to collaborate and ask really good questions and understand the client's business and what they're trying to accomplish.
Many universities now actually have sales majors. Yeah. They actually have majors and minors, which is amazing. So I really think in the next few years, we'll see that really changing because it's a legit major now. And then you combine it's a major plus they can come out making a substantial income out of college. So I think we'll see that change. But yes, to your question, I am always surprised that there aren't more people excited. But the other thing you have to remember is sales isn't for everybody, because a lot of the pay is tied to commission. And if you're not a risk taker and that doesn't motivate you, then it is not for you. Because when we interview people, like, one of the things that I'll ask is, what hobbies do you enjoy outside of work? And if they don't bring up a sport, very telling to me that this could be a problem for them, because if you aren't competitive in nature and willing to kind of risk it, they're not going to enjoy having a chunk of their paycheck tied to a commission structure. So I think the pay is something that shies people away also, especially the older they get and the farther they get into their career. It is hard to step back into that commission structure. I out of college right into it. I know nothing else.
Yeah.
So that's a big component of people going into that field also.
I think one of the main things is everything's a shared success. Really coming back to when it comes to sales, it's really easy to find yourself in a lone wolf-esque type culture.
Yeah.
So really embodying the we versus the me and being stronger together, I think really helps, right? So if I have somebody on my team working on a special project, I'm like, how can this fit into the same bucket 9 times? How can you make it your own? How can you ultimately extract something out of it as a different seller on the team to ensure that you can also leverage it and ensuring that exists across the board, right? So that also breed the culture of we're working together. And then you become stronger together as a team, right? And then you also celebrate your team's success on a quarterly basis when, deals start to really roll in, especially towards the end of the quarter. I started rallying email where I add as many key stakeholders across the board to an email thread, and we all just cheerlead people over the finish line. And we're very transparent also about potential risks that exist in deals. So people feel comfortable also raising their hand and saying something's not right, but also celebrating at the same time. So it's really ultimately trying to find that balance of, hey, we're championing for each other, we're being incredibly supportive, but also there's something wrong here. Let me raise my hand. Let me see how I can be better and deliver something better to my clients by asking my teammates. So it's really trying to find that balance and breed that type of culture of being comfortable and also being very uncomfortable with propelling yourself forward.
One, it is totally possible. There are examples of, there's a lot of examples. I know they are the minority, but there's lots of amazing examples of women CROs who are in the role, making the decisions, and they are crushing it. I have a podcast called Path to Growth, and we've interviewed several of them. So that's a little commercial for Path to Growth here.
That's great.
We'll
And
put a
so
link to it. I think representation, of course, matters, right? So know that it is possible, but these women also had to work very hard. You asked me earlier the types of BS that you didn't say BS, but I am using that word. I've had to go through, and there are people who are going to doubt you or discriminate against you because you are a woman, who will treat you differently. But I promise you, this is the minority. And there are plenty more people who don't care how you look and just care about your output and the impact you're making for the company. And so I would just focus on the goal at hand and have your eyes on the prize and just do what you do best and constantly figure out how to become a better version of yourself as a salesperson, as a sales manager, as a sales leader, and make it so that it would hurt if that company lost you, because then you have leverage. You get to choose the type of people you get to work with. And if anyone thinks of sexism or racism at all, run, go somewhere else, work for someone better. You get to have that choice if you make yourself invaluable.
I think there are times where it's been just incredibly enriching. I've had great sponsors. I've had great examples of really diverse leadership with just powerhouse people that are strong, nurturing the rest of the company. And then I've had the reversal of that where the organization wasn't healthy. There were behaviors, there were things that weren't bringing out the growth, the scale of the people, the organization. And so I've seen both sides. And I think the luxury is that when you grow within this industry and you grow within time in any career, you're going to experience both highs and lows with, all genders and all different types of relationships. And the way I see it is that I get to choose. I chose Soapbox. Danny, we went to business school together and now but he originally built a team that fostered a really great amount of encouragement, of testing and failing, of learning and growing the team. And it's now 6 years. And so I think that's what's exciting is that I'm in a fortunate position that I got to choose to be here and I continue to get to choose to show up to a place that has a great culture and fit.
Yeah, I call myself the queen of fear, okay? And the queen of failure. And I loved your comment as we were talking before is your comment, well, you use a lot of examples. Well, I've made a lot of mistakes. I mean, my life is a gold mine of
Yeah.
failure and mistakes. And number one, I very much believe in the Brene Brown school of thought, which is vulnerability. And it is scary. And I remember the first time I stood up in front of my students and I thought, can I tell them I really failed. It didn't, really failed. What are they gonna think about me? Are they still gonna respect me? Are they gonna and what I found was they respected me more. And I really learned how much acknowledging failure means to other people because then you realize, "Oh, I'm not alone. Oh my goodness, I'm not the only one who has done that. Oh yeah, I've done it, and I've probably done it even worse." And so I really started studying failure, not experimenting, but just studying it. And
Yeah.
how do we process it? And it's not the failure that worries me. We all know, oh yeah, you learn from failure. Yeah, 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 we do. And I do. But the fear is paralyzing. And there
Yeah.
is research that suggests it was done actually after 9/11, and it was to mobilize American troops. What would inspire Americans to sign up for the military? Would it be fear? Okay, we are under attack. We need you to defend us. Or patriotism. Go USA. Under fear,
Yeah.
people fear they close down. They hide away. They go in caves. And so fear is debilitating.
Yeah.
And if you're afraid to ask for the clothes, to try out for the play, to join a group, to ask a stranger to coffee,
Yeah.
you're paralyzed. So I really wanted to help students and then people get over their fear of failure.
I feel like earlier in my career, I was young, I was African American, and I was a girl, right? So I'm like 23, new in the industry. And I think it started to hit me very early. This is a male dominated industry, right? And for me, what I realized that would give me the leverage in the situation, one, I'm just going to throw it out there. I think women are better sellers. So I'll just say that. But I think that what I gained very early in my career, or what was brought to my attention, was that if you are going to want to dominate this industry, you're going to have to be super knowledgeable. You're going to have to be able to play with the big boys, you know what I mean? And the leverage or advantage that you're going to have is not showing up like a pretty girl or just being the girl's girl, but hey, like when you bring me into a deal, like I actually bring value. Like you want to call me because I'm going to advance things. And dealing with male counterparts on the flip of that, selling, I feel like they're more receptive to women, right? Like their egos aren't at play. So I would have male managers be like, okay, put Kayla on the call just because of the way that I could communicate or get through to a male. So I think it is a bros industry, but I think if you learn how to really fine tune the characteristics or the skills that you can use to your advantage, I do think it plays a long term advantage in sales personally.